Hey everybody, it's Luther Wilson III here. In today's video, I want to talk about private equity, private capital, and financing for real estate investors. As a lot of you know, real estate professional here in the Kansas City market, been investing, been doing sales for quite a while. And over the last few years, I've been a lot more active as an investor, buying and holding properties, rehabbing them, reselling them, refinancing, trying to do our best to keep them and build up portfolios. So that's my main thing is that I do with partners and with clients. Like along the way, you know, you go through different experiences and you gain experience and you hit roadblocks and you come across obstacles and so forth. And you just learn along the way, all right? And one big thing that I've learned along the way when it comes to real estate investing is how important the capital piece is. And I didn't know much about it early on, and I was afraid to use it, to talk about it, to leverage it, to figure out, you know, how I can raise it, okay? And it finally got to the point a number of years ago where I decided, all right, let's dig in. All right, let's ask around. Let's buy a couple books. Okay, got on YouTube, researched, went to a couple conferences and dug in a little bit deeper. And since then, it's been very eye-opening, and we've seen some success, and we've been able to grow our portfolios. And now, as a real estate pro, I want to share that with more people because part of my mission is to educate, inspire, and to collaborate, all right? And so when it comes to real estate investing, it's like the elephant in the closet that most of us don't want to talk about, the money piece, right? We all need it, we all use it. We have it coming from different sources. You talk to any investor who's been in the game for a while, whether they're active, buying, you know, 1 house a month, 5 house a month, 10 house a month, or if they've stopped or slowed down and haven't done a deal or purchased one in a year and a half or whatever, if you dig in deep and you ask them how they were able to acquire properties, private capital is going to come up, whether it's their money or a friend or family member's money or a business partner or associate's money. So I want to talk about it more because I think it's going to help a lot of people. It's going to help me too. All right. So what is private equity, right? And a lot of us don't even know what that is. When we think of, or at least when I thought of private equity, I thought of Wall Street, or I thought of a syndication group or some type of firm that raises and places money. But I wanted to dig in even more. So this morning I did a search on ChatGPT out of curiosity, and there's a lot that it spit out when I asked it. I asked it, what is private equity? And it kind of helped me gather my thoughts and helped me to see a little bit more clearly. And I thought about it and I'm like, wow, I have a few private equity companies and I didn't even realize it, okay? So if you are not a big company or you don't work for a big company, let's say you own a cleaning company, right? And you got it going 5 years ago and you went to the Secretary of State website for whatever, you know, state you're in, and you picked a name and you did a search for it and you realized like, okay, I got a name. It hasn't been taken yet. Let's go ahead and snatch that up. That's a private company, okay? So if you're not Microsoft, if you're not Apple, if you're not a publicly traded company, but you are an outfit, it could be even a sole proprietorship or LLC or some type of entity that's not publicly traded, then you have a private company, that is. And with the private equity, if you were to have split ownership or shares of that company that were issued to a partner or to some investors, then that is private equity. Okay, so a lot of investors They have a partner, they go in, they start an LLC, it's 50-50 or 60-40 or whatever the split is. Let's say one partner is the operator, okay, and one partner is the capital. That's private equity, all right? So when it comes to the private equity with the private capital, all right, you can have private capital without splitting up your company. So you can have private capital without using private equity, but I think more often than not, when it comes to private equity, there's going to be some type of private capital involved, all right? So when it comes to real estate investing, all right, because I don't want to get off track, and there's a number of different directions I could go with this talk, but there's the private equity, there's the private capital, and then there's the real estate financing of some sort, okay? And most investors are doing some sort using all three of those combined. And I didn't even realize that, right? I think a lot of investors are doing it. They're not even aware of what that is. And so the real estate financing piece, a lot of you are aware of that. When it comes to real estate investing in general, you got the short-term debt, which could be private capital. It could be a bridge loan. It could be a hard money loan, okay? And usually you're gonna have 6 to 12 months, maybe 18 months or a bit longer to have that loan paid back in full, okay? In general, that's short-term debt for real estate investors. Our specialty is residential real estate, single-family homes. So I'll refer to that as we continue, all right? So that's the short-term debt or short-term funding. Then you got the long-term funding, which could also be private capital if you have it set up a certain way. But for a lot of us, that long-term debt is gonna be some type of DSCR loan. It could be a non-qualified mortgage, or if you're an investor and you happen to have access to, or you're able to qualify and get a government-backed type of loan, that could be long-term debt too. 20, 25, it could be 15 to 30 years, okay? Hopefully it's fully amortized. A lot of investors do adjustable rate mortgages, or they have some type of commercial debt, which may have a 5-year arm or a 5-year payout. All right, I don't want to get too far into that, but the point is, you got the short-term debt and you got the long-term debt when it comes to the real estate financing. If you want to know more about that, you can refer to a couple of my past videos, okay, where I talk about GAP funds and investor financing. All right, so private equity, right? Private capital, real estate financing, combining that together, figuring out how you can go in, acquire the property, and then get to cash flow, whether that's a resale, whether that's long-term rental, whether that's something creative, lease option, seller carryback on the back end, all right? Figuring out how we could put that all together was huge for me. And so that's what I've been working on the last 5 years. And as I've started to spread the word and do more videos and social media outreach and so forth, talking to past clients, associates, business partners, it's been very eye-opening, and I want to encourage y'all, okay, that you can do this thing, because I know it was a big hurdle for me, and I know that there's investors out there that are coming across opportunities, and they, like us, want to be able to buy and hold these properties and grow a portfolio that produces cash flow each month and each quarter. Hopefully that'll free us up, right? For me, time freedom, lifestyle freedom is a big thing. And so the reality of it, the short-term transactions, whether you're doing wholesale, fix and flip, even if you get into something and you have to exit within the first 2 to 5 years, it's like, dang, I did all that work. You did all that work. You found a great deal. You dealt with the contractors, you dealt with the lender, the appraiser, the maintenance, the tenants, and everything. And then you had to give it up. Like, to me, that's kind of heartbreaking. It's like, wow. So I made it my mission not only to figure this thing out for myself and my portfolio, for my clients and my partners, but also to help inspire and encourage some other people too. So again, the private equity, the private capital, the financing piece, if you can figure out how to put that all together in a way that is repeatable and duplicatable and sustainable for the long run, building a portfolio and being able to hold those properties for the long term, okay? So a key part of that, all right, is on the front end, because private capital is huge. It's been an absolute game changer for me, all right? And a lot of what we have been doing, a lot of what investors are able to do depends on how much capital they have access to on the front end. And a lot of times it's gonna come maybe from you, but a lot of times it's gonna come from your sphere of influence. And based on how much is there and is available to place or invest, and how you can use it. What is the cost of that money? What are the terms of its usage? Okay, so if you have access to private capital, someone may have 6 figures, they may have $500,000, they may have a couple mil. If they are opening up their doors and saying, hey, we can loan you this money, or we can, invest with you somehow, but it's gonna cost, let's say 14% interest, and whatever we issue or invest or loan to you has to be paid back in full within 12 months, then you're gonna be somewhat limited on how you can move, okay? So pretty much that's what I did early on, and that's what a lot of investors are doing, whether it's soft money or hard money, short-term debt of some type, which pretty much forces us to do short-term transactions, all right? You have access, I have access to, and I've borrowed from 13 different financiers, capital sources, and so forth, okay? About half of those, 6 of them were short-term debt, all right? The other 7 was financing. It was refis that we did, okay? Because we had access to some money that needed to be paid back in a short amount of time. So we knew, okay, we can go in and we can do fix and flip. Okay, we can maybe do wholesale, or we can do some type of value add or rehab. The BRRRR strategy is what it's referred to commonly for residential real estate, where you buy it, rehab, refinance, repeat, that sort of thing. And so that can work, but it's tough to be able to grow and sustain your portfolio by doing that. It's gonna take a lot of time and energy, work, more efforts than you could imagine if you haven't done it, to be able to do that repeatedly and sustainably and end up in a position where you can keep those properties. So again, if you or I have access to funding or private capital, okay, and it needs to be paid back in 6 to 12 months, maybe longer, and it's interest only, and it has a balloon, okay, then we are going to be somewhat limited on how we can place that and how we can operate as a real estate investing business, okay? So on the flip side, if you are able to access capital and place it, invest it, it's private capital, and you can structure it as private equity so that that capital investor is in on the deal with you perhaps, or if you choose not to, or they don't want to be in on the deal with you, however you can access that capital for a longer period of time and it doesn't have a balloon, okay, then you are going to be able to grow and sustain and produce, get to that portfolio growth, which will produce revenue and cash flow with way less pressure, okay, to be able to get through that process, okay? So the private equity, the private capital, the real estate financing, putting it all together, and then the acquisition process. So a lot of us are trained and taught and coached, and I did it too. I drank the Kool-Aid where we go in and we are looking for an opportunity, or we look for a deal, and we find what we think is a solid one, and then we go from there and figure out the private capital and the private equity. And it's when you think about it, it doesn't seem silly at the time, but after you do it for a while and you realize that there's other ways to do it, then it begins to not make as much sense to do that regularly. It's putting the cart before the horse, okay? So from my experience, my clients, I mean, I've been a realtor 10 years, been investing on and off 16 years. The absolute best success that we've had was when we figured out the private capital, getting that together first, and then deploying that capital. It was way more efficient, okay? So that's the challenge for me. That's the challenge for you. If you're tuning into this and you're wanting to grow your real estate investing business, okay? It's 2024, y'all. We're halfway through the year. We're over halfway through the year. By the way, today's Monday, September 16th, 2024. And things have changed quite a bit the last year or so. And more people are starting to pay attention, realizing that, oh wow, interest rates do go up. You know, things happen, like financing costs go up, and the cost of labor and material can go up too. And we have to be able to adapt and pivot to be able to survive and to continue growing. And so the education is key, getting around other people who are making it happen in a manner that you would like to make it happen, that inspiration, okay? And then putting it together somehow with your colleagues and so forth. The collaboration piece is huge. So plug in with me, all right? Hit me up if you want to know more about some of the experiences that I've had with those three things: the private equity, the private capital, and the real estate financing. And I got more serious in the real estate finance piece over the last year and a half because I saw the challenges that every investor that's buying and rehabbing and attempting to keep properties goes through this, okay? And it fired me up because there were only a handful of lenders out of the several that I spoke with and a number of them that I borrowed from that kind of took me under their wing and would break things down a little bit more. And so it inspired me to want to get into that space to where now I'm helping to source and secure capital for investors who are looking to do just that thing. All right, so hit me up. Be happy to do a web call or a phone call if you're in the Kansas City area and you want to grab a coffee or barbecue. Let's make it happen. And we can help, I can help you strategize on how you can, if you're on the capital investor side, placing that, deploying it, collaborating with operators who can place that capital more safely and securely. That's one thing. Or if you're on the investor operator side, there's a ton of practitioners out there, the wholesalers, the realtors, the lenders, the property managers, and the contractors. A lot of us, because that's what I do too, or have done during my career at some point, have a dream or it's part of your vision to be able to have your own investment company, whether you want to do short-term or long-term, figuring out that private equity and the private capital piece is huge. And so I'm happy to share my knowledge and experiences that I've had, and I can get you plugged in with some of my clients and customers who are making it happen. And that way you can learn and grow, because I'll tell you what, like the day I partnered up with a capital investor changed everything. And then I started hitting the pavement, turning over stones, figuring out how this thing really works. And the real estate is great. However, it's just an asset. At the end of the day, if you really look into it, you dig deep, it's mostly about the capital and getting it right, getting it together. And you can use private capital without necessarily using private equity. However, if you're wanting to really take it to the next level, I think having it combined, all those three together is it. So thank you for tuning in. Appreciate your time. Again, it's Luther Wilson III, Upside Property Services and Upside Capital here in the Kansas City market, moving and grooving. So stay tuned as I put out more videos. Have a blessed day, y'all. Peace.